Just a short introduction about myself. My name is Andrέas Διαμαντέας. I'm the co-founder and the executive chairman of Finartix, fintech solutions, which is a company specializing in information technology in banking. And also I'm the vice president of Hellenic-African Chamber of Commerce and Development. Telling a few things about me and Africa. I have traveled to East Africa for more than 200 times. I have stayed there for more than 1,000 nights and days, running several business projects in 4 countries and expanding the business under a different hat and working for another company in the banking IT sector for 6 countries in East Africa. In today's meeting, our distinguished guests will speak to us about the opportunities that entrepreneurs in Greece may discover in Ethiopia, about their experiences, about do's and don'ts, about points that we need to have in mind expanding our business in this very important country. And not losing time, I will start our today's session with, we will start today's session with some brief greetings. I will kindly ask Mr. Sotiris Moussouris, the chairman, the president of Hellenic-African Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Sotiris Moussouris, to open the conference. Mr. Moussouris.
Thank you, Andrea. Ethiopia was the first African country that I visited half a century ago as an economist for a project of the ECA, Economic Commission for Africa. And since then, I returned several times. Since then, I have an emotional attachment to the country, to this beautiful country, with which Greece has a special close relation. For decades, not only on the basis of religion, but also on the basis of history. Don't forget that both countries were occupied by a fascist government, of European country, and resisted heroically. The cultural ties and the important Greek community, which lives in many Ethiopian towns and cities, is another link between Greece and Ethiopia, and as well as many Ethiopians who have studied in Greece. I remember I was quite impressed many years ago when I saw young Ethiopians in Dion Hotel to speak fluently Greek. Ethiopia, when I first came, was a poor and peaceful country with an emperor internationally respected. Now you have a leader who is also internationally respected. He received the Nobel Prize. And Addis Ababa has been for years the capital of international organizations. Fortunately, the conflict in the north has finished. It costed 20% of the gross domestic product of Ethiopia and thousands of lives. But fortunately, peace came. However, last year, unfortunately, the drought and the effects of the invasion to Ukraine created a surge in commodity prices, in fuel, in fertilizers, in food, and had an impact adverse to human development. Yet, the economy in recent months is improving. And the Ethiopian Resilient Recovery and Reconstruction Framework, which has prepared by the government for the years 2023-28, promises a better future with the assistance of the international community. We hope that the private sector will play also its positive role, and including the Greek private sector, will be able to contribute and have a creative role in both investment and trade. All the best, and I hope we'll have another discussion and maybe at a later stage, a business mission to Addis Ababa. All the best.
Thank you, Dr. Moussouris. I would ask Mrs. Evgenia Kepa, the Counselor of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Head of B5 Directorate for bilateral economic relations in the Middle East, North Africa, Gulf, Asia, Oceania, and Sub-Saharan Africa, to tell us a few words.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank our host, the Hellenic-African Chamber of Commerce and Development, and especially its president, Mr. Moussouris, for organizing this very interesting virtual conference, which will highlight business prospects and opportunities in Ethiopia. Greece has a long history of strong engagement and close relations with African countries. We have always believed in Africa's success and prosperity as essential to ensuring a better future for all of us. With Ethiopia, we have maintained deep-rooted friendly relations over the years. In this direction, it is our endeavor to further strengthen and deepen the economic relations between our two countries. Hopefully, today's event will give us the chance to have a fruitful discussion regarding the largely unexploited business and trade potential between Greece and Ethiopia. Let me quickly share with you some key points on Ethiopia's general and economic potential. First, Ethiopia's strategic position makes the country a jumping-off point in the Horn of Africa, close to the Middle East and its markets. Second, with almost 130 million inhabitants, Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Africa. Its growth rate as well is among the highest in the world. 3. Ethiopia is endowed with abundant agricultural resources and other natural resources. 4. The government of Ethiopia is investing in mega social and economic infrastructure projects. 5. Energy is one of the most significant sectors for Ethiopia's economic growth and development. Ethiopia possesses a bounty of renewable energy potential and seeks to exploit these resources by increasing the installed capacity of renewable energy sources. 6. Further to the fields of agriculture, infrastructure and construction works, as well as renewable energy, there are also business opportunities in various sectors, such as healthcare and tourism. On the other hand, over the past 5 years, Greece has made great strides in terms of economic development, particularly in the areas of tourism, shipping, energy, and ICT. Strategically located in the crossroads of Europe, Africa, and Asia, Greece could serve as a gateway for trade and investment between Europe and Africa. Making the best of both countries' advantages, Greece and Ethiopia could promote cooperation in fields such as energy, construction, tourism, and agriculture, and boost their bilateral trade. Currently, the bilateral trade volume does not reflect the potential of our economies. In 2022, it amounted to just 17.1 million euros. Greek companies, which have always implemented large-scale projects in many African countries and possess considerable know-how in the field of infrastructure, are present in Ethiopia as well. I would like to mention the Greek construction company Actor, which designed and constructed the biggest waste management plant in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. Finally, I would like to highlight the relaunch after a period of 18 years of the air connection between Athens and Addis Ababa, operated by Ethiopian Airlines, bringing the business communities of the two countries closer. I'm certain that this conference will give a new impetus to our economic relations. We definitely have a long way ahead of us, yet Ethiopians are renowned for running and winning marathons. Thank you for your attention, and I hope a success to our conference.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kepa. Sorry. I would like to ask Mr. Asefa Siranko, the Deputy Head of Mission in Ethiopian Embassy in Rome, to give us his message.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. How are you all? Good afternoon. Your Excellency, Dr. Musares, President of Hellenic-Africa Chamber of Commerce and Development. Your Excellency, Mr. Andreas Diamandéas, Member of the Board of Hellenic-Africa Chamber of Commerce and Development. Your Excellency, Mr. Daniel Teresa, Ethiopian Investment Commission Deputy Commissioner, dear participants from Greek and from Ethiopia, ladies before me, to be part of this video conference organized by mainly Greek partners, Ethiopian Embassy to Rome, and the Ethiopian Investment Commission at Addis Ababa. I would like to extend my appreciation to all stakeholders
Mr. Sirango, we are losing you. The connection is bad.
Ethiopia's opportunity and prospects for the investment and tourism development. Details about the opportunities that Ethiopia offering for foreign investors. Because all these matters will be addressed in the Ethiopian Investment Commission officials in presentation. As you might all know, Ethiopia and the Greek diplomatic relationship is very deep, and the Greek diplomatic mission was opened in 1917 as a consulate level, and it was upgraded to embassy in 1935. Even there are many trade agreements signed by these two countries for common benefits and for common goals. Today, we have to extend and we have to promote and we have to strengthen this business and investment economic ties. Ethiopia's economy is one of the fast-growing economy in Africa, so that we are opening doors for the Greek companies to invest in Ethiopia. In this regard, we expect a lot from Greek investors to go and to invest in Ethiopia. At this moment, Ethiopian economy is growing more than 7% in a year, even though there was a war, as Dr. Motres mentioned before 2 years ago. Today, peace agreement is already signed. Everything is now okay. So Ethiopia is opening all the doors and areas for foreign investors. We are urging and inviting Greek investors in priority areas to invest in Ethiopia. For example, construction, agro-processing, agriculture, tourism, mining, and related areas are very important area to invest in Ethiopia. So it's the capital of Africa. It's more than 120 million people. So very cheap labor power and very skilled labor power as well. So if anyone who is willing to invest in Ethiopia, there are a lot of opportunity and a lot of market and a lot of connection. If you invest in Ethiopia, it's truly speaking, you are connecting Middle East, Asia, Africa, and Europe as well. So from Ethiopian embassy side to Rome, we are ready to offer any support expected from us. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sirango. We appreciate your offer, and we hope to your efforts, let's say, in order to expand in the area. I would kindly ask Mr. Matsopoulos, member of Board of Directors in Athens Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give us his message.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Dimitri Hambisa Bonsa, Dr. Dimitri Moussouri, President of the Hellenic-African Chamber of Commerce and Development, Ms. Evgenia Kepa, Councillor Head of B5 Directorate for Bilateral Economic Relations, Mr. Panagiotis Hassapis, Executive Vice President of ΣΕΒΕ, ladies and gentlemen. As member of the Board of Directors of Athens Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I would like to welcome you to today's online conference, which is accompanied by governmental, entrepreneurial, and institutional representatives. Our chamber is the largest in Greece, representing more than 100,000 companies that cover an extremely wide spectrum of business and economy. And also, it is the institutional advisor of the government by suggesting key points that can boost economic activity. Although the trade between Ethiopia and Greece is relatively low, there is a special characteristic about it. There is a balance between imports and exports. So we need to sit together, all of the institutions, and put our minds on the table in order to promote the bilateral trade between our two countries with events like this one, which can have a multiplying effect since we are trying to bridge the gap between our two business communities. We can act as a secure path through which companies will be able to connect with others and discuss based on the real market needs and those of the consumers. Both of our countries have a long road to walk in order to increase the total economic output and enhance social welfare, which is the ultimate target that all of us serve on direct or indirect basis. Our chamber is always next to this kind of beautiful efforts, and I would like to state that I feel honored and privileged by being here with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matsopoulos. I kindly ask also Mr. Panagiotis Hassapis, Executive Vice President of Greek Exporters Association, to tell us a few words.
Yeah, good evening, honorary guests and ladies and gentlemen. To begin with, I would like to thank and congratulate the Hellenic-African Chamber of Commerce and Development for organizing today's virtual conference, and especially Mr. Moussouri for our excellent collaboration. Africa is a continent of great importance for the Greek exporting community due to the numerous trade and investment opportunities that have already been developed and will further develop in the future. Undoubtedly, the African economy was severely hit by the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine-Russia war, but the same goes for all economies of the world. More especially in Ethiopia, the real GDP growth fell to 5.3% in 2022 from 5.6% in 2021, but remained above East Africa's average. which was 4.7% in 2021 and 4.4% in 2022. On the supply side, drivers of growth were industry and services, and demand-side drivers were privately consumption and investment. The inflation rose to 34% in 2022 from 66.6% in 2021, and both growth and inflation were adversely impacted by internal conflict, drought, and the effects of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on commodity prices. So GDP is projected to grow by approximately 6% in 2023 and another 6.2% in 2024, driven by industry, private consumption, and investment as well. The importance of the Ethiopian market for global trade is depicted by the growth in trading volumes. During the past 20 years, Ethiopia showed a great upward trend regarding its world imports, from 2 billion euros in 2003 to 11 billion euros in 2014 and to 16 billion euros in 2022. So as we see, during these 20 years, the general trade was almost 8 times more. China, India, and the US are the most important trading partners, with their share amounting to approximately 50%. Turkey is the fourth most important provider of products with 700 million euros. On the contrary, Greece's share of Ethiopia's total imports amounted to just 0.05%. Greek exports to Ethiopia amounted to just 10 million euros, which is a neglected number. The most important product category being chemicals and pharmaceuticals, and machinery and equipment and fuels, a very low scale. There are several fields in which we could and should develop our bilateral trade, especially in sectors in which Ethiopia shows a great importing activity. Some interesting examples are machinery products with an import value amounting to 1.5 billion euros, vehicles, fats and oils, electrical machinery and cereals with 1.4 and 1.3 billion euros respectively, and fertilizers as well, which are worth more than 1 billion euros. These figures illustrate Ethiopia's and Africa's great prospects for trade and investment, and based on forecasts, Africa's economy is expected to grow by 6% in 2030, and this is why it's considered to be one of the most promising continents in the world for the upcoming years. The next boom after BRICS is projected to be especially the sub-Saharan Africa. And in the recent years, Greek exporters showed their capabilities in international trade and illustrated great resilience to challenges such as the pandemic, the energy crisis, and several cost increases that were imposed. And the result of their resilience and professionalism was the all-time record high of 55 billion euros exports in 2022. We consider this achievement as the beginning of a new export-based period for the Greek economy, in which we want to expand our cooperation with promising markets such as Ethiopia. ΣΕΒΕ is the largest exporting association in Greece, with more than 800 company members across the country, with a total turnover of 40 billion euros and a total export turnover of more than 25 billion euros, representing approximately 50% of Greek exports and another 70,000 employees. And as such, we take great responsibility in exploiting new business opportunities and creating channels of cooperation. And in the same context, we have coordinated and cost-hosted several business forums and webinars for the sub-Saharan and Ethiopia in the past. And this is why we will continue to do so in upcoming years. We think that today's webinar will be fruitful for everyone, and I would like to thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassabis, for the very important information you provided. This is it's time to pass to the presentations, to the main part of the meeting of this conference. And we will start with the presentation of Mr. Daniel Teresa, Deputy Commissioner in Ethiopian Investment Commission, who will present with his colleague Abdurrahman Mohammed, the Investment Advisor at the Ethiopian Investment Commission. I kindly ask you, Mr. Teresa, to start your speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course, we can hear you. I will interrupt just for a moment. There is a message from one of the participants, who is asking which are the opportunities in the investment opportunities in the country, and what is the minimum, if any, amount of investment that is required, let's say, in order to enter the country. So let's try also to respond to these questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We will address the question during our presentation. Thank you so much. Let me introduce myself. My name is Daniel. I work for Ethiopian Investment Commission. Ethiopian Investment Commission is a public agency established to promote investment, attract, provide all required services to foreign direct investment. Thank you, Excellencies, for very important speeches, and also for organizing this very important virtual session to understand, to learn opportunities in Ethiopia, to strengthen bilateral trade and investment between the two countries. Thank you for organizing this. To begin with, the Ethiopian Investment Commission is a government institution that promotes investment opportunities in Ethiopia. To say that Ethiopia is land of origin and land of origin for human being, and land of origin for coffee in Nile. Ethiopia has a lot of investment opportunities, untapped investment opportunities. And to give you some basic information about Ethiopia is a market of more than 120 million population with a very rapid growing middle class. And it's also a political center of Africa, and now Ethiopia is a signatory to the African Continental Free Trade Area with a market size of 1.3 billion people. And this makes Ethiopia the second most populous in Africa next to Nigeria. And of 120 million population, more than 60% of the total population is young, easily trainable population, which industry, manufacturing sector, and investment sector is looking for. So not only this, by improving human resources through extensive training and education, Ethiopia produces close to 2 million labor force for the labor market every year. And Ethiopia is also one of top-ranking investment destinations in Africa with diverse natural resources and untapped resources. And in the past few years, particularly in the past 3-4 years, as has been already indicated, there has been a lot of challenges, which were COVID-19, internal conflict, and also disruption of internal international and global value chain due to the war. Now we are in the post-conflict, we are in post-COVID-19 as well. Despite all those challenges, Ethiopia registered a very remarkable economic growth in the past 2-3 years. Even before 2-3 years, for the consecutive 15 years, Ethiopia registered a remarkable, which was a double-digit economic growth. This showed that how Ethiopia's economy is resilient and kept growing during this very challenging time. Now it's also predicted to the growth to be more than 6% in the coming year. And in the past 3 years, following the reforms that has been undertaken in Ethiopia, we've been undertaking different reforms, majorly focusing on economic reform, investment reform, and to address constraints and challenges that may affect investment in Ethiopia. So in the past 2-3 years, we've been working to address challenges in the ease of business doing that, so that we can create more conducive and favorable economic and investment environment in Ethiopia. So in addition to this, Ethiopian government also invested on infrastructural development, which is industrial park development, infrastructural development in Ethiopia, so that foreign direct investors can come and invest in Ethiopia easily, start their operation as well. So in this case, we have also identified priority areas where foreign direct investors come and invest in Ethiopia. And now I can mention there are untapped and abound investment opportunities in Ethiopia, particularly in agriculture, manufacturing sector, construction, mining, tourism, ICT, and energy sectors. So Ethiopian Investment Commission provides all services, all necessary facilitations from starting from entry to starting operation. Ethiopian Investment Commission provides all facilitation services. We do have one-stop services, and Ethiopian Investment Commission, the institution that I've already mentioned, is governed by Ethiopia National Investment Board, which is chaired by the Prime Minister. So this shows that how Ethiopian government is determined to address challenges in investment area and also promote this area and administer these investment activities in Ethiopia. So the Prime Minister chairs National Investment Board, and Ethiopian Investment Commission, the commission where I'm working, is also providing facilitation services. Having said this, we invite you to explore the immense investment opportunities in Ethiopia in different sectors, and we will provide all the required support, starting from providing information and facilitating visas and any information that you require. So to give the chance to Abraham to present on the opportunities, what Ethiopian government offers, what Ethiopia also offers to you or Greek companies, and how they can also part of our investment development in Ethiopia. So I will invite Abraham to give us highlights in a very short time. Abraham, can you hear me?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. So I can proceed with the presentation.
Please, over to you.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Excellencies. So I will be directly going to present the investment opportunities in Ethiopia. So let us see the agenda. So I will introduce why you need to invest in Ethiopia first, and then we'll see the national reform initiatives that has been undertaken by the government of Ethiopia, and we'll see also investment opportunities in the country, especially in regards to the government priority areas. And lastly, we'll see the investment incentives and the sustainable infrastructure. Some of already reflected some of the questions, so I will answer it through my presentation. Much has been said about why you need to invest in Ethiopia and the attractiveness of the country to many investors across the globe. And I think, Rick, since we have long economic relation and cultural relations, I think we want to more investments to come here and invest in the various investment areas. So when we say why you invest in Ethiopia, there are several reasons. So we are second in Africa in terms of population, and most of our population are in a labor force age category. More than 60% of them are in a 15 to 65 age category. In terms of economy, also we are the top in Africa in terms of FDI flow. We are one of the top 5 FDI destinations for foreign direct investors. In terms of education as well, we have more than 300,000 university graduates each year, and from technical and vocational schools as well, more than 667,000 per year contributing to the labor market. So other factors for us in terms of construction or sustainable infrastructures, for instance, railway, air connectivity, and the road, the asphalt roads, those infrastructures are also available for investors, and these are serving investors to easily import items as well as export products to Middle East and Europe as well as other countries, as we are geopolitical also suitable to export to various countries. In terms of cost to production cost, if we take also electricity, which is one of the cheapest in Africa, and this serving so many companies to come in Ethiopia and invest. So we like to invite all Greek companies to come here and explore the market opportunities. When we see also the national reform initiatives, we can see the economic and investment reforms, the conducive investment climate, as well as investments in the priority areas. So when we see the economic and investment reforms, the government for the last 4 years undertaking several reforms, including the macroeconomic level, structural reforms, sectoral reforms. So different government institutions are playing their own role, to correct the forex imbalances, control inflation, and other areas as well. At the Ethiopian Investment Commission, we are also doing some sectoral reforms that would enhance, the investment as well as, the export. So we are following, on the positive path to enhance the private sector participation in the economy and contribute to the job creation, export, as well as the improvement of the livelihood of the people. When we see the privatization and the liberalization of the economy to foreign direct investors, so previously there was some restrictions, but these days we made several areas to open to any foreign direct investors. One of them is telecom sector, and the other one is financial sector. Already approved in terms of financial sector. The banking sector will be open soon for foreign direct investors. but the policy already approved, and some regulatory documents are still in preparations. Once it's approved by the parliament, so the banking sector will be also open for any foreign direct investors. The other areas in terms of, for instance, special economic zones, there is actually based on sector specialization. So after like maybe 4 or 5 months, it will be opened, for any investment sectors, including service, and still the privatization and liberalization of the economy is still going on, and we are seeing, several investors joining the market. For instance, the Safaricom, the telecom sector, we can mention as an example. But still, due to the privatization and liberalization of the economy, so many foreign investors are joining the Ethiopian markets. So when we see the reforms on the investment law, so we were like very restrictive, rule now, but after new law, new investment proclamation and regulations, so we already opened all the sectors except sectors listed here. So you can invest in any sectors. For some are actually reserved for joint investment with the government, and some with domestic investors, as well as some are exclusively reserved for local investors. Other than that, you can invest in any investment sectors. So we are like following from a positive listing approach to negative listing approach. That means you can invest in any sectors other than those mentioned on the proclamation. So when we see areas reserved for joint investment, there are manufacturing of weapons, import-export of electric energy, international air transport, fast rapid transit, postal services excluding courier services. These are areas reserved for joint with government investments. The others are reserved for joint with the local investors, domestic investors, including freight forwarding, domestic air transport, cross-country public transport, seating capacity more than 45, and those listed areas. Other than that, some of them are only reserved for the local investors, which is already here on the list. Obviously, banking is going to be opened, but the policy is already adopted by the government. In terms of enhancing or improving the investment climate for foreign direct investors, the Commission, together with other government institutes, working to improve, and ease investments for foreign direct investors. So for the last 3-4 years, more than 80 reforms undertaken to ease, getting investment permit and other supports for the investors. And we are still working to improve the investment climate and in coordination with other government institutes while starting business and getting loans and other services that we are providing to the investors. When we see also in terms of promotion and providing one-stop shop services, providing incentives and aftercare support, also we are progressing, and we are providing a lot of support to investors. So many promotion agencies wouldn't do those regulatory as well as one-stop shop services, but the Ethiopian Investment Commission can easily provide all the support starting from the establishment till the aftercares. After the establishment, we provide all the necessary support to the investors. So we can say we are not only the primary window for the investors, but we are also providing across all the investment life cycle that the support is needed from the investors as a commissioner earlier mentioned, starting from providing the information, assigning key account manager for you, to establish company, as well as to provide you all the necessary support. When we see governance structure already indicated, the Ethiopian Investment Commission is the secretary of the investment board. The investment board is chaired by the Prime Minister, so that it will support us or enable investors, to easily solve issues or challenges that they may face. But at the commission level, we will provide all the necessary support. But if it goes, beyond EIC capacity, and the investment board is there, which is chaired by the Prime Minister, that will make things to be managed easily. When we see the priority areas, so the government considers some of the sectors as structural areas that could enhance the economy of the country. One of them is the sector is agriculture. The second one, manufacturing. Third one, ICT and mining, as well as tourism. Those are the 5 priority sectors of the government of Ethiopia. Under each sector, there are subcategories which we prioritize, but still we accept all projects. But in terms of the government priority areas, these are the one listed as some of the priorities for foreign direct investors to join the Ethiopian market and invest. So when we see the agriculture, so as you may know, we are mainly dependent on the agriculture. The agriculture is contributing 34% of the total GDP, 66% of total employment, and 76% of total export. So that means it indicates how the agriculture is contributing to the economy. And since most of the investors are including the small scale are engaged on the agriculture sector, but when we compare the land that is cultivable and the available lands, so there are a lot of gaps, and I would like to invite you to join those agricultural sector as well, and exploit the market. You can engage or supply to the export market, and because we are as earlier mentioned, we are close to Europe, Middle East, so that would support us to easily export any agricultural commodities. When we see the opportunities under the agriculture sector, one of it is horticulture, the other one cereals, the third one pulses and oilseeds, as well as cotton. These are some of the areas, and under each there are several opportunities, market gaps, so that you can easily join the market and exploit the opportunities. When we see the horticulture, these days, even the export share is also growing to Netherlands and other countries. We are exporting several horticultural products. There is 1.36 billion USD market potential for the horticulture market in general in Ethiopia, and still we are importing some of horticultural products from abroad. So you can easily contribute to the local as well as export market. When we see also cereals, it is the same, pulses and oilseed. For instance, in terms of oilseeds, we are the FAO report, we are 9th top producer of sesame globally. So there is huge potential for the agro processing purpose as well, and to easily export the agricultural products to Europe and elsewhere. Cotton also, because we have several dedicated textile manufacturers here mostly, but we are importing from abroad those raw materials. So there are potential areas which is suitable for cotton farming, commercial farming, so that you can easily, manage, to supply to the local companies here and, export to international market. There are also potentials in the dairy, red meat, poultry, and animal feed. These are, some of the investment areas that you can easily, tap into the market and, supply to the local as well as international market. When we see, the potential that we have, and the opportunity is very, very huge, and you can see, so many gaps in the market. For instance, in the dairy sector, the total milk production, and when you compare with the, cattle capacity that we have, we are at the top in terms of, cattle as well. So you can easily, manage in terms of, producing milk production and red meat, poultry, as well as, the animal feed sector. When we see the textile and apparel sector, as I mentioned earlier, we do have, dedicated industrial park for the textile and garment sector, and Ethiopia is serving, as an emerging regional hub for, sourcing garment products, and we are, exporting to US, Europe, and Asian countries, those, textile and garment products. We have, a long vision to export even 30 billion USD by 2030, and there are, several global brands are already here and, supplying to the international markets. Leather and leather products also one of the priorities of the government of Ethiopia. As I already indicated, the raw hide and skin is, very high in terms of, because we have the cattle hides that we have, is very huge, and the skill set as well as the skill, the graduate that's coming from, joining the market is huge, and we do have, strong value chain, so that you can easily hire, a labor force that could, contribute to your production success. When we see the pharmaceutical sectors, as you may know, we are, importing more than 85% of pharmaceutical products are from abroad. So there is huge potential here also to fill the gap, to fill the market gap, and the health sector takes 12% of the national GDP for expenditure, and out-of-pocket expenditure for the health sector is also 46% of the total sectoral expenditure. So we can say there are, a lot of gaps in the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector, and compared to the population size that we have, and with the increasing hospitals, there is, a high demand for pharmaceutical products, but at the government, we are also providing the incentive package for those participating in the pharmaceutical investment sectors. There are also some, subsector under the pharmaceutical category that we prioritize. The first one is the pharmaceutical formulation or production, the biological products, the vaccines, medical supplies and equipments. Also, some of the identified market gap for the pharmaceutical and health sectors in Ethiopia. When you see, this cluster, we are following cluster-based approach in compliance with the GMP requirement. And for instance, when we see the Qilinto Industrial Park, which is solely dedicated for the pharmaceutical products, we follow, zoning compliance, so that companies can somehow meet, international standards actually depends on their own manufacturing that they're gonna build, but still in terms of zoning structures, we already arranged land for that, so that companies can easily get the land and construct their own buildings for the pharmaceutical purpose. When we see the assembling of...
Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Abdulrahman.
Okay.
Is it possible to finish in 5 minutes in order to leave time, let's say, for the rest of the speakers? Because although it's very important, your presentation, we need to have to allocate some time for the other speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aldo. So when we see also the assembling of agricultural machineries, these are one of the priorities for the government of Ethiopia, and agro-processing is also the priorities, because we do have huge potentials in the agriculture sector. So we encourage companies to invest on those agricultural processings. So because in terms of export, job creations, and different national advantage, we prioritize packaging as well. It's actually related not to the agro-processing, but also other investment areas. Mining also our priorities: gold, potash, tantalum, fertilizer, oil and gas basins, iron, steel, and construction inputs are some of subcategories under mining that which we prioritize as an investment opportunities for FDIs. Energy also our priorities compared to the exploitable reserve and exploited percent. There is huge gap, so we encourage also companies to engage in different energy subsector investments. Tourism also our priorities. We do have several tourism destinations. So in that area, we encourage companies to invest in the various tourism investment areas. When we see also ICT is also a top priority for the government of Ethiopia. We already have ICT park, so we encourage also companies to join the ICT park, invest into software development, data center, or business outsourcing areas. Transportation and logistics also our priorities. Construction and housing also priorities of the government of Ethiopia, because there is construction boom, increasing urbanization rate, but still there is huge gap in that area, and we encourage companies to involve on the housing, especially on the affordable housing options, so that they can easily tap into the market. The construction, contracting, water well training, mineral, petroleum, and geothermal exploration training also an opportunity for the investments. We do have also dedicated industrial parks across the country, including by the private as well as public industrial parks, so that it easily facilitate companies to invest in those industrial parks across the country. So these are opportunities for the companies in Ethiopia. We do have also 4 specific parks for the agro-industrial parks. When we see the incentive package, we do have non-physical and physical incentives. So we provide corporate income tax exemptions, customs tax exemption, loss carry forward, full export duty exemption, expatriate income taxes. These are some of the physical incentives. The non-physical one, in terms of providing guarantee against expropriation and repatriation fund of funds, that the law easily guarantees those rights, as well as we provide one-stop shop services and other non-physical package that we provide for investors. And these are some of the logistic in terms of sustainable infrastructure. We are top in terms of providing international air service. We have more than 131 destinations and cargo, more than 60. And in terms of road, also always the roads nationwide available, and railway that would easily facilitate export business through Djibouti, way. And in terms of electricity, we're providing the cheapest one as indicated earlier. The government is highly constructing the hydropower options, but still there is a gap. Setting up investment in Ethiopia. So you can set up your investment in Ethiopia in different forms. You can invest outside of the special economic zone, and you can also develop special economic zone, and you can operate special economic zone, as well as you can join simply as an enterprise in the economic zones. And our team will provide all the necessary support for the investors, for the Greek investors and all other investors. So we are happy to provide all the support that you need. These are some of the opportunities. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you very much for all this very interesting and important information you provided. I would kindly ask if it's possible, let's say, to have your presentation, to submit your presentation to the Hellenic African Chamber in order for us to be able, let's say, to share it with whoever is interested about it. Is it possible?
Sure, I'll do.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Teresa, also. And we will pass to our next presenter, that is Mrs. Meron Antenech, a business analyst and event coordinator for the European Chamber of Ethiopia, who has a great amount of expertise in the Ethiopian business landscape. She is devoted to help European businesses succeed in Ethiopia. In her presentation, she will describe the European Chamber's key missions and visions and the benefit that it offers to European businesses. Mrs. Antenech.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with everyone. Yes.
I will ask the previous speaker, let's say, to stop sharing his screen, if he's possible.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. I hope you can see my screen as well.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. So for starters, I am from the European Chamber in Ethiopia, and we are a chamber established from 2012 and well known as the European Union Business Forum in Ethiopia. So our main mission is to be partner of choice for policy dialogue and engagement. But foremost, we have currently a membership of over 100 companies, and its mission is to facilitate businesses between European and Ethiopian companies and to promote Ethiopian as a destination for foreign investment. So our mission is to be partner of choice for policy dialogue and engagement. We have an aim to improve the exchange of information on business and regulatory environment, to develop a platform for networking and forging business links, and facilitate dialogue with policymakers. So maybe without further ado, before going to the activities that we have so far, maybe to share with you a couple of things that as being a member of the European Chamber, of course, first and foremost, you have to be a European company who has a good impression or who wants to invest in Ethiopia or is currently already investing in Ethiopia, but still wants to have more areas and attributes in regards to the informations. So the main benefits that we support from the Chamber is that we provide access to information and resources. So by that, it means providing its members with access to wealth of information and resources, including research reports, industry data, and legal and regulatory updates. Another one being is the networking opportunities. So we organize a number of networking events throughout the year, which give members the opportunity to meet and connect with other European business operating in Ethiopia. The third part of the benefit would be advocacy and support. So we advocate on behalf of our members to the Ethiopian government and other stakeholders. European Chamber also provides its members with support of a range of common issues that may occur when investing in Ethiopia. These issues could be like taxation, labor law, and intellectual property rights. Last but not least, another benefit is training and development. So as being part of the European Chamber, we offer a variety of training and development programs to its members, which help them to improve their business skills and knowledge. So some of the number of accomplishments and activities that we can look through is by also seeing one of the presentations. We provide advocacy, public and private dialogue. So we host different workshops and trainings for member companies with different key government authorities. Another activity that we've been doing is that we also publish a number of well-researched publications, inclusive of reports and guides on doing business in Ethiopia. And then a third one would be we also host thematic events. This could also be hosting and organizing different focus group discussions to support the policy briefs on tax, customs, forex, and access to land holdings. So some of those activities are like the publications that you can see on my screen. This being, we just launched our Invest in Ethiopia handbook for investors. So this includes the key areas that any investor who wants to really invest in Ethiopia could actually benefit from. So another published booklet that we have is also the Business Climate Report. So far, we published it in 2021, and we're still also updating the new climate report. So once we have that, we can also send that as a copy. Another two policy briefs that we have is sourcing from the source, which definitely states about the utilization of FDI to tackle Ethiopia's foreign exchange challenge. And the last policy brief that we have on hand is accelerating Ethiopia's transformation, which definitely also provides the strategic goal of a mid to small scale FDI. So apart from this, we also have different areas that is actually coming through. But also, in additional to that, we have future plans while being as a chamber in Ethiopia. So some of these are the establishment of service desks. So this service desks will promotes the establishment and could provide a number of benefits to our members. This could be inclusive to improve our customer service, the increase of efficiency, and also reduce costs in the future. And then another future plan that we have is to enhance the FDI promotion. So this leads to increased investment in Ethiopia, where we can create jobs, boost economic growth, and improve the standard of living for Ethiopians, and also draw more welcoming environment to the foreign investors to invest to the country. So this is a quite short presentation. But I would definitely like to also mention that we believe that the Euro Chamber in Ethiopia is a valuable resource for European business operating in Ethiopia. And the organization's membership provides businesses with a number of benefits that can help them succeed in Ethiopia. So I would say if you're in a European business operating in Ethiopia, or if you are considering investing in Ethiopia, I encourage you to consider the Chamber, where we can also help you to succeed in Ethiopia by providing you with the access to information, resources, networking opportunities, advocacy and support, and training and development. So if you want any form or information about the European Chamber in Ethiopia, we can also send the websites on the chat box here. I'll provide that once I'm done with this. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask as well. Thank you for the space.
Thank you very much. It was short, but very important. And we appreciate actually your offer, let's say, to contact you in case we need anything. Thank you very much.
Definitely.
Okay, now we'll pass to our next speaker, who is representing the IT sector, Mr. Abraham Kasahan, Payment System Consultant and Chief Technology Officer, who as a payment system consultant has been working mainly in the design, implementation, and deployment of the whole payment ecosystem in Ethiopia, and also as a chief technology officer has been working mainly in strategy, design, building teams, standards, processes of the overall information technology activities. He's also very experienced in new technologies related to digital, to infrastructure, platforms, private clouds, etc. So, Mr. Abraham.
Thank you very much, Andreas. Am I audible?
Yes, we hear you.
All right. So actually, Abdu has also mentioned, a lot of points from different sectors. And I would like to give you, a very highlight where, the ICT sectors are, the ICT sectors development in Ethiopia. So I would like to share my screen. I have a bit, very, presentation. Hope you can see it.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's explained actually from the previous discussion, but I will repeat it and then I will explain, what's the status of the ICT sector in Ethiopia. So, as you know, Ethiopia is, the most, currently we are 120 million people and more than that. And the coverage is more than 1.1 million square kilometers, and 70% of the citizen is below age 30, and then most of the population have no access to formal financial services, and then even less than 1% access to insurance. And but the penetration rate of the mobile users is very, is growing right now. More than 50 million people uses mobile, and half of it, or more than 25%, more than 25 million people uses data, and around 22 million people are smartphone users. So from this much amount of population, 50 million are smallholder farmers, and more than 8 million people are pastoralists. And around 1 million people, is, around 1 million micro, small enterprises, both micro and small, and it's expected to grow 3 million by 2030. So this shows, Ethiopia. Ethiopia is just like this. We have a number of people, we have a number of farmers, we have large coverage area, and then but there are, especially in the ICT sector, we will see which areas is growing and which areas are lacking, and then what does it mean with this figure. So what areas needs to be covered. So for the last 2 decades, the Ethio telecom infrastructure is, it's growing fast. Before 10 years or 20 years, it is a fixed landline, and now we are even at this, we are using the 4G, and the mobile penetration rate is very high, and then it is currently, it's almost 1/4 of the people, uses data. So this is actually a big number in terms of telecom infrastructure. And currently, the government has significant investments doing in expanding or investing in the ICT in terms of ICT industrial park, and then in terms of even having new regulations, especially for the payment instrument issuer, for the telecom license. So such kind of growth are here in Ethiopia. And also for many projects, one of the hindrance is a national ID, and then it is operationalized in 2022. So that's also, it's a major work done so far. So what are the less areas which is not yet invested or exploited, but have a very high potential in the ICT sector? I believe, I have put some 4 points, like I would like to discuss, like from the fintech industry, from the marketplace, from the logistics and delivery, and the tech service providers side. So from when you say fintech, it's a financial technology It encompasses from the digital payment solutions, like payment currently in Ethiopia, payment is actually, Telever and other payment gateway providers. There is a bit experience in terms of payment solutions, but we can say that it is not yet, leveraged, the payment infrastructure to our community. The other one is the lending, or the lending in Ethiopia. The numbers I'm not quite sure, but recently there was only 300,000 people have get, or they have a chance to get a loan from the bank, which is a very small number. And recently, with the fintech industry from the Cooperative Bank of Oromia, which they have given a loan for more than 100,000 people. Actually, it is a small loan or micro loan, and then they spend like more than $1 billion per. That's another. Recently that we have discovered that the fintech is just one product can reach 100,000 loans, which is, when you compare for the last 20 years, only 300,000 people are getting loans, using the formal financial sectors. So when you see this, it is an area where we haven't yet explored it. When you consider InsurTech, even in the insurance industry, we can say that less than 2% of the people at least knows about these insurance products, especially in the rural area, this micro insurance for crop or livestock insurance. It is not yet practiced well. So in the fintech area, it is currently there are a very small number, and there is pros out there, but it is not yet explored. And then it is a very high potential area which we can see in the ICT sector. By the way, just to refer from the Abdul's presentation, when we say ICT, it is changing the dimension from what we know before. What we know before is ICT is about database, ICT is about developing softwares, but now ICT is changing into a platform business. So by itself, ICT is a business. So when you take fintech, it can be a financial industry, but it's a technology. It's an ICT solution. So I look from that point of view. So fintech is one area. The other area is marketplace. When you see in Ethiopia, there is no marketplace, I can say. There is no e-commerce. There is no B2B. There is no B2C. There is no P2P. Even this last mile delivery businesses. There is in Addis. Actually, there is a practice in doing this, especially the B2C business, Shagga.com, and there are Hello Cash, Hello Market, Hello something. So, but it is, we can say that it's none. So this is, we can actually refer, when we see from the other market, from the American, for example, the Chinese, like Alibaba, Alipay, AliExpress, even from the Kenya, from our neighboring countries, Jumia and other big companies. But in Ethiopia, there is no such kind of things, which is a very big area which is not yet explored. The other one is, it's mentioned in Abdul's presentation also in the agriculture area, especially in the agricultural supply chain marketplace. There is a producer and there is a commercial buyer from the other side. And then we can create a market in between. currently, which is done by brokers. And then that makes it, especially the agricultural products, more very expensive in Ethiopia. So that area is not yet explored in the marketplace businesses, like tourism. There are tourism sectors. There is no created places where we can show to for tourists. It can be in Ethiopia or outside of Ethiopia, where someone can fly from one place to another, can go from one place to another, using car, and can rest somewhere and can see something. There is no curation, such kind of things in Ethiopia, where we can consider as a business. So it's not yet even explored. The other one is logistics and delivery. In Ethiopia, as you know, if you want to send some document or parcel from one place to another, you can send using, you have to call to someone and then send it, or you have to go by yourself. There is no, such kind of on-demand delivery services. And also in the logistics area, especially for freight businesses, like transportation within the city, transportation between cities, transportation across the country, like Kobo 360, I don't know if you know it, Lorry in Nigeria. There are other big freight companies we know, but such kind of technology, such kind of services is not yet experienced in Ethiopia. And this is actually where, one of the key area where it should be invested, because it is the lack of this technology. The cost of items becomes very high. For example, if you send an item from Djibouti to Ethiopia, because they don't know if there is a business from Ethiopia to Djibouti, so they make it the price double. And then if there is a system, we know all the ecosystem of transportation, where we can actually manage the price, and then even we can create competitions, kind of like that. So there is a big in the logistics and delivery area. It is an untapped area where we can invest on it. The other one is, it's mentioned, especially in Ethiopia, there are local talent people, and there are universities, more than 30 or 50 universities. And there is also ICT training centers, such as EVEA. So by collaborating with such training centers like EVEA, we can have a lot of local talented expertise in technology, so that we can have, delivery centers. We can create delivery center from the technology service provider point of view. There is one company, I don't know if you know it, Accelerant. It's an American business company. They are now here in Ethiopia, and they have recruited 200 people, and then they deliver softwares for the American companies. So for the European companies. So such kind of using human resources in Ethiopia with a lesser price, with a lesser price than the West, from the West, then we can, have one area we can look into. So in general, what I would like to say is investment opportunity in Ethiopia, especially in the ICT. Almost we can say the market is untapped. There is no human resources. We can consider big human resources. If we believe that those human resources from the university may not be able to have the skill set required, but we can work in collaboration with the training centers to enable them to deliver the required delivery. And the other opportunity is, some of them, it's open for foreign investment, like telecom, payment instrument issuers, where other businesses can achieve in collaboration with local companies, as it's mentioned by Abdul. So this is actually just to brief you a bit about ICT development in Ethiopia. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll come back.
Thank you, Abraham. I actually have a question that is, as we see from what you said, there are several domains, let's say, in the ICT that are not developed. You said that is not explored, this is not explored, the other is not explored. What is the reason for not exploring these sectors?
You know, Ethio Telecom is growing starting from, you know, before 2 or 3 years. There is one of the key area were mentioned because the infrastructure, the Ethio Telecom infrastructure was not good. But if you see for the last 2 or 3 years, it is now getting not better, but it is very, very good. So now people have started and all are, especially for example, if you go to fintech, there are fintech companies in Ethiopia, but they are very small. And then the ecosystem is growing, but the potential is, you know, very high. When you compare it from East Africa, for instance, from other companies, we are much below because of, you know, the ICT development in Ethiopia previously. But now it is good, but now it's favorable.
Okay, and the other question is, when I've been there, let's say a few years ago, I saw that in the banking sector, there are many cooperative banks that are huge, let's say, are bigger than big banks in Europe. Actually, we're bigger than the biggest bank in Greece. We are talking about millions of customers. And how this sector, let's say, is managed ICT-wise? Because we know that this sector was quite delayed, let's say, on the ICT business, and mainly there were some restrictions, let's say, to enter this market. Am I correct or not?
Yes, you are correct, and we can say that they are traditional banks, but now they are dividing. Some of the banks I know, they are moving to digital banks. They have created a new wing because things are moving to the ICT. So yeah, previously again, our financial institution, because of, you know, this competition, there is no competition in Ethiopia. There is no foreign banks in Ethiopia, and the law, you know, favors to the financial institutions. So you are forced to put your money into the bank. But if the bank, you know, doesn't, you know, the bank will not give you anything. I mean, like loan, kind of like that. So even now, that's why still now, the most amazing part is financial institutions, the big financial institutions, the banks. I mean, they are like around 300,000 loans only still now. It's so amazing. So it's very, very minimal. Almost we can say that, especially nowadays, financial inclusion means providing financial access to the people. It means we can say that it is none. It is not depositing money that makes you providing financial service. It is a service that you give to the people, which is, when you say financial institutions, it means providing loan. So now, yeah. So now you know, they are starting credit scoring the people, but it is, you know, an infant stage. We can say that still now we are in the traditional. We are just starting the digital banking.
So I understand correctly that in case an investor comes to the country, let's say, and seeks funding from a local bank, it will be difficult to take it?
Sorry?
In case an investor does business in the country, and of course, he will seek some funding from the bank, some lending from the banks, the traditional banks. It will be difficult for him to take this loan, this lending.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What I mean is actually when you say financial inclusion, it is for the people, for the customers, especially for the one individuals who put their money in the bank, they don't get loans. But when you say large investors, they get loans. That's why it is a number of loan amount is very, very minimal.
Okay, very important. Thank you very much. Okay, we appreciate your presentation. And, you know, for
I don't hear you, sorry.
We don't hear you.
You closed, you muted your microphone.
Is
okay.
Is it
yes,
now?
It's okay now.
I don't know what is happening. Okay, I said that I will say a few words about the next speaker, who was Mrs. Eleana Georgalis, but he will be represented by Mrs. Aisa Imran. It was very important to read Mrs. Eleana Georgalis' story, who is a coffee exporter and owner of Moplaco Trading PLC. She will not be able to present to us her experiences since she's flying currently because her flight changed. And so in her position, it will be Mrs. Aisa Imran. But I want to stay to Mrs. Eleana. She has a background in economics and politics. She moved to Ethiopia in 2008 to take over the family company. Her initial plan was to stay there for a couple of years, but stayed already for 15 years. And most probably she will stay much more, as I understand. And as she declared, she became addicted with the coffee business. Since her move to Ethiopia, she expanded the operations of the company in farming, processing, retailing, and roasting. And this is a very interesting story. So it seems that Greece lost a visionary businesswoman, and this woman was won by Ethiopia. Recently, she told us that Mrs. Aisa Imran will substitute her in the presentation. So, Aisa, it's your turn.
Good evening from Ethiopia, everybody.
Good evening.
So it was really a surprise to me that a flight was suddenly delayed and she couldn't make it here. So really, I got into this without really knowing what it was going to be about. So she just asked me to tell you a little bit about the company because I didn't know what she wanted to put forward or if she had any presentation in place for this. As Andrea sir already mentioned about a little bit of the history of the company, let me just elaborate it a little bit more. We're basically, Moplaco was established by Heleana's father in 1971. He started with green coffee export in a very small farm that he initially purchased. He started as a coffee farmer, exporter, and producer, and he was the first one to actually start sun-dried specialty, which was exported to the Asian market, and especially Japan. Because he passed away untimely and suddenly, Heleana in 2008 had to take over the entire business. And it was new for her because she was doing something completely different and had to move to Ethiopia and understand everything about Ethiopia and how the business works and everything. And since then, she started exporting to various other countries around the world. Having said that, around Europe, around the States, around Korea, and also China. She also started very recently exporting roasted coffee. which we started by roasting to the States and to China, with a little bit also towards Europe. She now has some schools as well in the countrysides where she has her farms. She supports these schools and funds them and the children in order to learn and grow. And along with coffee, we also do some part of honey from the same farms. So yeah, this should be all about Moplaco that you should know.
Okay, can you tell us what kept Eleana, let's say, instead of 2 years, 15 years in the country?
Yeah, I think she really immersed herself into coffee, and I remember her telling me that once she started by cupping the coffee, she realized how interesting and how interesting and how diverse, you can say, or how complicated coffee is. So I think that just pushed her to explore different things within coffee itself and grow her business right here, rather than just shut everything down and move. You know, so it was pretty much an interest factor that kept her behind.
Okay, good. So thank you very much, Aisha.
No problem.
And thank you for the short notice, actually, because you responded in a very short notice. So we'll close the presentation cycle with Mrs. Josephine Therese Vitali, a senior hydraulic and process consultant holding bachelor's and master's in civil engineering, working as assistant project manager in Roikos SA Engineering Consultants Ethiopia branch. She will present briefly the company, the activities of the company where she is working, Roikos, their scope and their vision for their projects in Ethiopia.
Hello from me.
Hello.
I know that we are running out of time.
That's okay. You have them.
Be very brief in my presentation. In any ways, it's a very long presentation, but I'm not going to stay in many of the slides. I'm going through quickly, just to have some time for chatting and
some questions, maybe.
Some questions, yes, that I think are more important than what I'm going to say, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
So hold on. I don't know. You see my screen now?
Yes, we see.
Yes. Okay. Just let me like so from beginning. As you said, I'm Josephine. I'm working for Roikos. We are established now in Ethiopia. We are running 3 projects. One is finished, one is almost finished, and one is running now. In general, what I had to do is introduce my company, the team structure, the Ethiopia's background challenges that we faced, and they are important. The aims of the sanitation and water projects in the country, and the scope of works, critical points for successful elaboration of the project, and other points to be discussed maybe. I'm going to stay on mostly on the critical points for successful elaboration of the project that I think is more important for people that they want to be open to Ethiopia and they do not know how. Okay, so we are a company, consulting firm. We are based in Athens. The company is established in 1995. The main activities concern engineering studies, consulting, and innovative technologies and development of technologies. Our fields are several: urban and regional planning, civil and structural engineering, mechanical and electrical, transport and infrastructure. But our main activities in the country, in Ethiopia, is water and wastewater. We have 2 projects in wastewater and 1 project in water. The project that we had, the first one, it was in 2017, concerning feasibility study and detailed design of wastewater management system for Bahidar and Hawassa. The client was the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Electricity. The second one that is almost closed now, it was approved also as a project. It is consultancy service for development of an integrated citywide inclusive sanitation program, feasibility study and detailed design of wastewater management system for urban and soda towns. And the last one is the non-revenue water reduction strategic plan and implementation mechanism and business plan development of Hawassa, Valletta, Soda and Urban Town Water Supply and Sewage Authority, where we are with in a joint venture with ZNA, and we have is ongoing, the project. I'm just mentioning the names of the projects and the clients because it is important to see how it was developing, because the first project that we had, it was about the same with the second one. But what it was changed is that the people, the Ethiopian people, through the World Banks, they understood that it is not so simple to design the sanitation system in Ethiopia, because it's not like in Europe. You have different things to do. It's not so simple, because we have to have a step approach and not go for a detailed design, as it was noted on the title of the first first project, which was feasibility study and detailed design of wastewater management. Okay, let's go do just a network and we finished, and a treatment plan maybe, and that's all. But we understood also through this project that it is not so simple, and also it is not sustainable to have projects like that and cope with them. So the approach, it was differentiate on the second. The first one was for the 5 major cities of Ethiopia after Addis Ababa. So on the third round, they came with a different approach, asking for citywide inclusive sanitation, which is more sustainable and more close and to what we have to do in the country in order to be developed. These are some photos from the cities that we are working. And I have to note that our team structure is Greek and Ethiopian experts, along with the support team. We have multidisciplinary experts, and we try to have equal number of women and men. I'm mentioning that because it is very important, and I'll state it also at the end, to have local collaborators. It is very difficult if you don't have someone to talk the language and to be able to understand what you are saying and and give them understand what you are looking for. Ethiopia's background challenges in the water and sanitation domains started mainly from the changes of MDGs to SDGs in order to have sustainable goals. I'm not going to stay to Ethiopia and say how it is, and I think they told us earlier about that. It is an independent country. It is a developing country very quickly. They change their policies, they change their attitude. They are open to new things. They had some issues because of the arresting situation on the country, especially on the north. I think now they are coping with that. So Ethiopia economy is expected to continue as one of the world's fastest growing over the coming years, or as I don't remember another invited person mentioned, and improve their infrastructure and the facilities that they have in the cities that are very quickly urbanized. The issue in the country is that it is needed through wars to have the population to have access to safe water supply, to have sanitation and access to basic sanitation, and the population to practice safe water handling and water treatment at home. The MDGs and the SDGs, the difference between the two of them, maybe some of you already know the difference in the sanitation was and water. It was mainly that the MDGs brought us closer to world without poverty, where the SDGs brought us into a world without poverty. And here there are the SDGs versus MDGs differences in water and service level definition and which is acceptable and not acceptable. I'm not going through this. You can find it in my presentation that I'll give you. Issues that they had was that and faced from all this policy was that every 15 minutes a child dies from preventable waterborne diseases. More than 1 over 3 people not have access to improved sanitation. We have open defecation, even though it's stated free open defecation country. In some cities, over 80% of sewage is available, is thrown untreated. Groundwater provides drinking water to over 50% of the population, etc. All these issues then directed even the country to sanitation projects. The country has state to have 97% of safe water quality, access to safe water quality, and only 7% in sanitation. Okay, in safely managed sanitary products. So I'm not staying on that. I'm not staying on the infrastructures. The GDPs also, they are connected to SDGs. The GDPs are the goals of Ethiopia, and it is outlined that they want to reach universal access to basic sanitation and hygiene service. What it is important from us, these are photos from our projects during the investigation. We need to have safe management of human excreta, including collection, transport, treatment, disposal, and the use of human excreta and associated hygiene-related practices. In order to do that safely, we need to take into consideration also the drinking water supply, solid waste management, and stormwater management, because we've seen that sanitation is really connected to these 3 domains also. Citywide inclusive sanitation aims to ensure everyone has access to safely managed sanitation by promoting a range of solutions, both on-site and centralized sewerage. We have to understand that citywide inclusive sanitation is based on the rule of 3 A's, to have acceptable, adequate, and affordable sanitation services. we can see some photos from water points, how they move their water, basically with tanks, but they have also networks. On the sanitation, we are behind, but we are trying to catch up. The transfer of the wastewater is done by vacuum trucks at the moment, or it is just dumped, closed the pit latrines, and just open a new hole in order to use it for disposal. The disposal, when it is managed, usually they have drying beds. In some places like Hawassa and Sodo have also recycling. In Hawassa, they take they have drying beds for the disposal of the waste water, and also they produce some kind of fertilizers through using these sludge produced in the drying beds. The issue in Ethiopia in general is that some projects they are starting, as you can see on the right side, this is the lagoons from the wetlands from a treatment, from a drying bed treatment plant, let's say for sludge, but they are unfinished. They destroyed the membranes, etc. This is an issue in general in Ethiopia. Some projects, because they are running out of money, they stop and they are not finished, and or they cannot run the project, the infrastructure, because they do not have the funds to do so. Because of the use of the land inappropriately, also we have many problems with floods and the management of storm waters. Also on this is the deforestation that is playing its role. The solid waste management is an issue. I think they are trying now to cope with that also. We are not involved in such project at the moment, maybe in the future. They are recycling plastic and they get money, is a source for money for micro enterprises for the cities where we work and for other cities as far as we know. Aim of the sanitation project for us, but for all engineers, we think that it is to have right sanitation, to be safely managed, and also to contribute to a thriving urban economy. That's what I said about the recycling, or maybe producing fertilizers, etc. I'm not going through deeply on the whole service chain, etc. But we have to notice that in general, when we inspect and when we go through and assess the situation, we have to go through the whole chain. I mean, containment and after the transport and the disposal, etc. About the economy, that is important, and because you ask us if we consider that there is space for jobs for people and for new technologies, etc. This is one domain where the people can develop technologies. And not only entrepreneurs, but also the universities, they can have collaborations with other universities in order to assess the possibility for jobs, for jobs creation in the country with such projects. Critical points for successful elaboration of the project and other professional activities that they may come on Ethiopia. One thing is peace and security. During our stay there, we had some issues, we faced some issues concerning security and peace. I think now, as I mentioned earlier, they are handling that, and hopefully access will be reestablished to every place with security. Diseases and necessary vaccination is not a challenge, is mostly a prerequisite in order to visit specific areas. The vaccination especially is for areas where we have a lot of water, like Albany, etc., where we have the lakes. Mismanagement of money from the government, increased risk of losing money or long late payments, lack of bilateral relation. That is very important, especially because all these general challenges is not only for Ethiopia, it's for Africa. But for example, we faced an issue with lack of bilateral convention because we are double taxated. And this is difficult because we lose money and make the project not to be profitable. Procedure under development improvement. The country, as it was mentioned earlier, is under development. They tried and they continue to try their best, and they upgrade their systems, etc. They have, though, to consider that when they do it, they're upgrading. It is important to leave the existing system in operation and not stop it, go to the new one without being able to operate it properly. For example, about the passport, now, those days, we have Ethiopian people here for training. Some of them, they couldn't come and join their group because their passport couldn't be renewed on time. Also, when we've been traveling in February to Ethiopia for presentations and for workshops that we had there, some of us got their visa, some of them, the rest of us, me included, we stayed behind waiting our visa to be given in order to travel. So they have to be very careful because they change from one system to the other, just to make sure the people can be serviced. Absence of embassy of Ethiopia in Greece is also important for us. Now, nowadays, it's not very important, but earlier, 2 years ago or something like that, we faced an issue on that because we couldn't travel, because we couldn't get an e-visa, we couldn't get a visa in the entrance, and also we had to travel to the embassy in Rome to get a visa and after go to Ethiopia, to travel to Ethiopia. Because also the consulate couldn't do the visas for us. And also the embassy of Italy, of Ethiopia was closed for a few days, something like that, for 1 week. And no one could be serviced and get a visa. So when they are going to have a lot of people going there to invest, they have to make sure, I think, to give the visas on time, etc. I have to say also, because I'm saying for the Ethiopians, but also the lack of bilateral relations and the convention for the avoidance of double taxation and prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income. It is an issue that is also a Greek issue. Okay, we inform already our embassy in Ethiopia. We discuss with them and we ask them to talk to our government here because we can see Cyprus, for example, has such convention, but we don't have. And we are many years now in Ethiopia, and this time, I think, and there are many companies, as you mentioned in the beginning, it is actor that been there. There are other companies that have activities there, and it is good to have such convention. Concerning the engineering part, that might be difficult also for other domains. It is a rapid urbanization of the cities. We cannot very well have the number of the population. For the engineers, it's very important that in the urban, in order to do the design, that is because of lack of new data. So we have to ask the CSA in order to give us their projection. Lack of planning sometimes, limited information. It has to be very carefully asked what you need, and you have to search very much in order to find what you need, because it might be existing, but they do not know all the people on the public domain of the specific company, water company, or whatever it is that municipality, etc. Requirements for changing in a short period of time and ability to update the data available to the services, continuous change of employees in the public authorities because they are looking for better payment and they are going to the private sector. So what is happening is we don't have a continuity inside the public sector, which is not good for them because they lose also people that they are trained, they have capacity building. And they have to re-estimate and see how they can deal with that. Continuous change, lack of digital files, because at the end of the project, sometimes they do not ask the files. Now that it's more centralized, I think all the authorities and the stakeholders, they are asking their digital files of the project, of the output of the project. The political will on population relocation, sometimes it is understood, but they have to find a way to secure areas where they are going to do their infrastructures, because what we faced is we proposed specific areas for the infrastructure after discussion with the authorities, but until the end of the project, this land was occupied by people settling there. Lack of standards, it is important, but they are having now, they are trying to have policies and standards, etc. And so on. You can see the rest of it in order. What is also important, the establishment of communication lines in the domain. It has to be in written, but also oral communication before. It is nice in order to find a way and common understanding. Data collection is very difficult. You have, though, to insist and to search carefully, to have, as I said, the local collaborators, because they know how to search the information. Challenges for the European engineers, as I mentioned in the beginning, is that the standard practice in urban sanitation and the conventional approach is not working very well there. And they have to really reconsider the way of approaching the project. It has to be a step approach, and also it has to be according to the needs of
Josephine, sorry, I will kindly ask to
finish.
To finish.
Yes. Okay.
We are
Finally, I've got through very
okay.
deeply. Just to tell you, this is the country that we love. It is very nice country with great potential. The people, the kids are happy. Everyone is happy there. And this is our clients that now they are in Zafolia during the training that they have there. It's some photos from there. That's all.
That is perfect. Thank you very much for this very, very important information. Okay. You are very right that the lack of bilateral agreements is a huge problem, especially because a part of the lower profit, let's say, is giving us, it is a huge pain on the competition, because if you compete with countries that have the bilateral agreement in place, you understand that you are almost 20% more expensive, let's say, than the others. This is a problem that was raised and was discussed with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs many times, I believe, and the only country, as I know, that has in Africa bilateral agreement is South Africa, except if something changed. And I believe it's time to proceed with these bilateral agreements, let's say, because they are a pain in the business. Not saying something else. Okay, so before we go to, since you are the last speaker, before we go to the questions, I would like to thank all distinguished presenters that are at our disposal, let's say, for any questions that we may have. And we'll proceed to these questions. Before we go to the questions, I would also like to thank the Director of Hellenic African Chamber, Mrs. Jenny Zacharaki, for her efforts to organize this conference very, very well. And please, we are at your disposal for any question that you may have.
One thing,
of course,
I have to raise a hand, most probably.
Okay.
But I would like to ask just Mrs. Meron Antene, just if she could share more information about the chamber.
She already has sent her contact details in the chat.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you may find, let's say, the link, and you may find her phone number. So you may, I believe that this information is not just a question, it's
yes, just
more. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I can also share my email and contact information if possible as well. Thank you for that.
Also, Mrs. Aisha Imran gave us the answer to the question from Helena on what made her stay in Ethiopia instead of leaving. And she replied, most probably from the plane, let's say, that the legacy of the family and the potential of the country, there is a need for everything, and Greeks are resilient and know how to navigate their way. So it's a good answer, I believe. So we are at your disposal for questions. I don't see many, so I will kindly ask Mr. Mousouris to close the event. From my side, I would like to thank you all for your participation, for your time.
Excuse me. This is Mr. Asafa from Ethiopian Embassy, Rome. I'm Deputy Head of Mission. Regarding to the services and especially from visa service point of view, anyone who is willing to go Addis Ababa and to see whatever they need and to make free investment visit, or anyone who is willing to visit Addis Ababa and else part of the country as a tourist or as a businessman, really we are ready to offer any support regarding to the visa and related matters. So our office is every time open, so you don't face any challenges regarding to these matters. And Dr. Motres and organizers can share my email and my telephone number. So anyone who is willing to contact us, please don't hesitate, and we are at your disposal to support any needs from Greek side. Really, we appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Mousouris, sorry.
Excuse me, can I make comment regarding the agreement on avoidance of the...
We will highly appreciate that, because we are in discussions with the ministry, let's say, for a long time now, and we don't see any progress there.
First of all, the agreements, there are two agreements on avoidance of that taxation, but it is for the shipping companies and airline companies, not in general.
That is a discrimination, as you understand.
First of all, the agreements regarding the avoidance of that taxation in the comments of the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if there is expressed interest from companies or the business community, can make a suggestion to the Ministry of Finance. So we must have an information that there is this need in order to communicate this information with the Ministry of Finance. I mean, it's not our initiative. It cannot be our initiative.
Okay.
If there is an interest of the Greek companies or from the chamber or I don't know, from the business community, we can transfer this interest to the Ministry of Finance. So please express this interest in order to proceed.
You mean in writing?
Yes, and if there are other companies as well, or I don't know, because these kind of agreements are the most difficult ones. One of the most difficult ones, because they are very technical. It takes a long time to conclude them. So if then the ministry cannot take the initiative to launch the negotiations. If there is interest, we can communicate with the Ministry of Finance and inform them.
So that may be a good initiative from our side, Mr. President. Okay.
Because what we see are the numbers, and the numbers, for example, the volume of bilateral trade is only 17 million euro. I mean, it's not so large, or we don't have any information regarding investments in, you know, a large number of investments.
It is not only investments; it's also exports. Because imagine
exports,
that
if
you participate in a bid, let's say for I don't know 1 million, then you face a double taxation. Okay, and the double taxation is 20% in the country you are going. You need to offer your system 20% less than what the others are offering. So yes, you are out of the business. You are out of business. And we faced this problem in the past, let's say, many, many times.
Yes, I understand this, but you know, the volume of trade now is very low. I don't say that we don't.
But we want to grow it.
No, and also just to mention something, there are companies, Greek companies, that they are working through their offices in Cyprus, for example, in order not to get double taxated. So
or in an African country.
The money that you see is not only, you could have more money here in Greece, and not going the money to Cyprus, for example, or other countries, European countries that they have bilateral, because some Greek companies, they have offices also in Netherlands or in, I don't know where. So they are working in their offices.
And it would be better and other companies also to express their interest in order to.
Okay. Anything else? So, Mr. President, will you close the conference? Mr. Moussouris? Okay.
I want to thank you, all the participants. We received interesting information, some extremely detailed, which were not necessary, but thank you very much. And we hope that Ethiopia will attract the Greek businessmen for trade and investment. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, all of you. Okay, hope to see you soon. Thank you.